I'm at the Capitol. And the reason why I'm here is because they're actually about to pass the HEROES Act. And a lot of people don't know what that is. So what is going on right now is the House, which is on this side of the Capitol, is voting on whether or not they will pass the bill. And then they walk it on over to the Senate, which is on the other side of this big old building. And a lot of people are focusing in on the HEROES Act because it could give everyone another $1,200 stimulus check. For a while, people thought it would be $2,000, but it's actually looking like it's $1,200. Additionally, frontline workers would be receiving way more than thunderous applause if this passes. I'll go into that. College students who were actually seen as a deduction last time would actually be getting a $1,200 check this time around, even if they are seen as a deduction by their parents. Also, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, Section 8 would be receiving a lot of extra funding, along with extending unemployment benefits for people who are claiming federal benefits of the $600 a week. That looks like that's going to keep moving forward if this HEROES bill passes. Lastly, if the HEROES bill does pass, then we are going to be getting a lot of help for renters and tenants and people who actually have a mortgage on their home. So yeah, just about everyone will be affected by this bill if it passes. But will it actually pass? Because this bill is actually a lot more controversial than the last one. What's up, you guys? This is Bob, just practicing social distancing with my N95 mask. I'm not gonna wear that the whole time, but if you look around, there is no one here. But if someone does come and they have, you know, the Coco, we'll be slapping these on, don't worry, because I got the N95, which means kinda an N95. Okay. Now, with all that said, is going into detail into the HEROES bill even worth it? Because this bill is actually really controversial, and the chances of a lot of it falling onto the Congress floor is actually pretty high. And before I go into whether or not this will pass, please understand that I myself am not a political channel. And yes, while I am literally sitting next to one of the most political buildings in the world, let's just say that I am a Bob-atarian. And as a Bob-atarian, the only policy that I subscribe to is smashing that like button because you enjoy fact-checked information that will actually help you grow your real estate dreams or whatever. All right, so back to the people on the Hill. So the House is actually very likely to pass this because it is democratically led, and this bill is being pushed by the Democrats. So it's probably gonna pass the House. But then it has to be walked over to the Senate, which is Republican-led. And the Republicans are having a lot of issues with this. And the two Republicans that are really voicing against this bill is John Barrasso, saying this just won't get passed, and Mitch McConnell, which is saying we need to pump the brakes, we need to pause, we need to see if the stimulus bills that we've already passed, what effect they've already had.
It's who is saying, not which is saying.
Specifically John Barrasso, who is saying this is just not going to pass, and Mitch McConnell, who is saying, well, we should pause and see the effects of the stimulus bill that we've already passed, because they've already passed like 3. This would be number 4. However, outside of the Congress building is Jerome Powell, who is head of the Federal Reserve. He's actually saying, well, wait a minute, we might actually need more stimulus. And no, I'm not going to go into negative interest rates. Stop asking. So right now, this is looking a lot like a balancing act, because this thing is not very popular with one side, but it is with the other. And it's looking like we still need something. And this bill is actually 1,815 pages long. This thing is longer than, it's almost as long as Atlas Shrugged. And I think it's longer than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So let's get into what's actually in this bill. First off, the thing that is affecting just about every American is the stimulus checks. And how the stimulus checks work this time is basically the same way it worked last time. You'll get $1,200 as long as you make $75,000 or less. If you make more than that, it goes down $5 for every 100. I want to highlight all the things because it's the same thing as the C.A.R.E.S Act. They're basically just recapitalizing it. The real difference with this is that a family could actually get as much as $6,000 off this thing, whereas before that was not the case. Because here's the thing, your dependents can also get $1,200, whereas before they got nothing. So if you're one of those college kids that was still claimed as a dependent, now you can get that $1,200, and as an added bonus, you will retroactively get the $1,200 from last time. So that's $2,400. That is a lot of ramen. Now for the people with unemployment. So this is basically working the same as it worked last time for you guys. You'll get $600 a week from the federal government. This doesn't include the state. And it basically works the same way. So if you want to know how that works, then just actually go to my video here. Did pretty good. A lot of people like it. And you can apply for unemployment. And it actually extends unemployment to January 2021. So it's going a lot further than it did last time for the extra $600. Now for the people who are actually the frontline workers, the people that we've all been applauding actually are going to be getting a little bit of extra money here. They will actually be getting an additional $13 an hour, but this does actually max out at $10,000. So if you did 769 hours of work in total, that's when you max out for the additional $13 an hour. Now, if you are one of the frontline workers, like if you're a doctor, someone making over $200,000, then your max will be $5,000. And one thing that I think a lot of people didn't notice here is a lot of the people will actually be getting a tax break as well, a federal tax break. And the way it works is you won't have to pay taxes if you're a qualifying frontline worker for 4 months, and the Secretary of the Treasury could extend it another 3 months, totaling 7 months. And the way it works is just like how it works for soldiers who are being deployed. So they don't have to pay the federal taxes while they're earning basically the hardest dollars that you can earn. It's the same mentality and it's the same system in how it'll be executed, at least per the bill right now. And as a side note, the frontline buildings, as in hospitals, will actually be able to apply for PPP as well. So if you haven't gotten your PPP money yet, like me, then, well, the money's probably gonna go into the hospitals pretty quick here. And we got Trump. That is, you know, he's not requesting forbearance on his home anytime soon. And he's got 3 helicopters. What, like 2 dummy helicopters? So you don't know which one's him? I don't know. Okay, so how will this actually affect your housing situation though? This thing does everything. It's going to affect renters, it's going to affect homeowners. So first off, 36% of the country currently is in a rental. And the big thing that's going to be helping them out is that the HEROES Act is going to make it to where you cannot evict a tenant for 12 months. And on top of that, it's going to make it to where if you serve notice as the landlord to them, they still get an additional 30 days on that. So if they do it at the end of the 12 months, you could actually still be in there for 13 months. Now, do understand that this doesn't mean it's free money. They can still basically go after the tenant if they don't pay, but do know that they just can't evict you because of non-payment. And this will be going as far as May 31st of 2021. So a lot of breathing room here for people. And it's important to note that this applies to tenants in every type of building, single family, multifamily, it all counts. Now for people in voucher programs, $4 billion will be going towards things like Section 8. $2.5 billion of that having actually specifically to Section 8, then another $500 million to administration, $5 billion to community development, whatever that means, $11.5 billion to homelessness, and $100 billion to rental assistance in general. And it'll actually be really interesting to know how that $100 billion of people not in the voucher programs will work, because with the Section 8 and everything, I think they'll just be filling it up like normal. They'll just be giving it a bump. But for the extra $100 million, I don't know how that's really going to work, because I do know that with the stimulus bill, that if you get that, people who are trying to collect a debt will not be able to try and take that from you, or if you have some type of wage garnishment, this won't be able to take it away with the stimulus check. So if they give you rental assistance directly, can the landlord have a say on it? I don't know how that's going to work. I think we'll end up seeing how that really shakes out over time. That'll be interesting to see. And I think that with all this stuff going on, this actually is great for the landlord and the tenant, because for those of you who don't know, people who own 1 to 4 units or dwellings are actually just an individual person, and most of the time those people are actually using that rental income. They actually live off of it. It's not really building their wealth. And as someone who manages about 1,000 properties in their company, I can tell you more often than not that this is someone's nest egg. And so if people are actually able to work together on this and not fall under, because if the small guys fall under, that's actually going to be really, really tough, okay? Because the people who will come in from the smaller landlords will actually be the larger funds and everything. And yes, I do work with those groups, but call me sentimental. I really always am rooting for the little guy and trying to keep the American dream alive. So work with your landlord. In fact, I made this video to help you guys work together to where, you know, the tenant doesn't have to default and the landlord doesn't have to default either. Now to people who own a home, mortgage forbearance. Now a few things have changed here, but the mortgage forbearance isn't new. That was actually made popular through the C.A.R.E.S Act for this, but what you need to understand is that this will now be affecting people who are not just in federally backed loans. It can be anyone with any loan. And forbearance will be possible for 360 days, meaning just like the renters, you may not have to make a payment for an entire year. And now, last time this wasn't true, but now if you are paying your servicer, if you're paying your property tax through them and your insurance, the servicer would actually have to be paying that on your behalf as well. So you actually would not be making any payments like that on your house for a year. And they're saying they might even have to defer the extra property tax and the insurance for you, because if you tack it on to the end of your loan, because it still isn't free money, guys, you'll have to pay it in the end, but they're gonna put it at the back of the loan, and you go for a whole year without payments, and let's say you have like, I don't know, 15 years left on your loan, this means you would have 16 years left. But honestly, good luck getting that one through. I don't know if all of that is actually gonna get through the Senate, because frankly, if mortgage rates get any lower, I don't really see a whole lot of people wanting to hold the notes on the mortgages anyway. The bonds are just gonna become worthless at some point. And another thing to note is that if you do request forbearance, at least right now, it does not hit your credit score, but it definitely does hit your credit report. In fact, I go through that on this video of the effects of forbearance. But what's interesting is in this bill, if it gets passed, they're trying to make it to where that little loophole where they were putting it on your credit report will get closed, maybe. And hey, do your own research on this one. But maybe this time it won't actually affect you like it did before, in which case you can watch this video where I go step by step as to how you actually can request forbearance. I will try to figure out if you requested forbearance already and had it knocked on you, does that also retroactively, do they have to take it off now? Because I tried to get them to take it off and they said it was not legal for them to take it off. So that'll be really interesting to see how that one works out too. So those are the major parts of this 1,815 page bill. Now there's a lot of stuff that they actually snuck into this thing, like the SALT deduction, and just like a lot of other little stuff that might actually just get chopped up on the floor here. But my major question is, will the stim checks actually get to people quickly? Like, I think there's a lot of people that still haven't gotten it. And will states run out of money for state unemployment, leaving the $600 federal unemployment being the only thing people get every week? Because I know a lot of states are actually running low on the state unemployment. And then will there be any kind of insurance for the people that own the 1 to 4 units? Because right now they're like really the only people that are not really getting a direct bailout, because you can't even really get that far on the PPPs or the mortgage forbearance. So that's basically it, guys. I hope this was helpful to you. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, comment any questions. What are you guys seeing right now out there? I know I don't have all the answers. Is there anything else buried in here that's interesting? Because I'm looking, and I'm not looking at this, I'm looking at the HEROES Act. But if I brought that thing around, it would be like, it would be enormous. So, all right, guys, have a good one. Stay in there.